The moment I opened the door, a cold shiver ran down my spine, a premonition I could neither shake nor ignore. My first anniversary was supposed to be a night of love, laughter, and whispered promises. Yet before I even stepped inside, I sensed that everything had shifted. She stumbled into the room, her dress swaying unnaturally, a wine glass dangling from her fingers, trembling like her control over the night. The room's chatter died mid-sentence. Friends froze mid-laugh, glasses paused in midair. And then her voice cut through the silence like a jagged blade. "I still love my ex. I only married you for your money." My heart stopped. The world blurred around her. Time fractured, and I felt the entire room tilt under the weight of her words. For a long moment, nobody breathed. Her laughter from a second ago, wild and careless, had curdled into a sharp, manic edge, and the panic in her eyes mirrored the horror spreading through the guests. Glasses shattered, the soft clinking echoing through the hall like tiny alarms, as every whisper and gasp seemed amplified against my skull. I watched her falter, yet she smiled, reckless, as though daring someone to react. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. My mind, trained on a cold calculation, raced faster than any of them could comprehend. For weeks, I had anticipated the fragility beneath her charm, the cracks in her perfect act, and now every silent second became a countdown. A subtle tremor ran through her, just enough for me to see the first seeds of doubt in her eyes. I reached slowly into my inner pocket, the motion deliberate, almost ceremonious. Weeks ago, anticipating that she might shatter the illusion of our marriage, I had prepared the divorce papers. Signed, sealed, and ready, waiting for the precise moment to turn her words into her undoing. Her gaze flickered to my hand, confusion flashing too late, her bravado faltering. I let the silence stretch, letting the full weight of her confession sink in, letting the room absorb the tension that now clung to every surface like a thick fog. Her breath hitched, laughter twisting into panic, and she stepped back only to stumble over the edge of the rug. The room collectively exhaled, the collective shock turning into anticipation. My friends, those who had once smiled at her jokes, now stared with wide-eyed disbelief, unsure whether to intervene or merely watch the unraveling. I stayed calm. My silence was a weapon sharper than any words I could utter. She had believed chaos would bend me. She had thought I would crumble. But in that stillness, I held the ultimate advantage, and the air seemed to hum with the inevitability of her reckoning. I signed the papers deliberately, each stroke a measured punctuation mark to the life we had faked. Her face went pale, eyes widening, her sobs catching before she could form words. The sound was deafening in the silence, the absolute collapse of someone who had once thought herself untouchable. She crumpled to the floor, her arms flailing for support that wasn't there, and the weight of her arrogance bore down on the room. Friends gasped, whispering in frantic disbelief, as the waiter hesitated, unsure whether to intervene or flee. My heart, though heavy, remained steady. Every tear she shed was a testament to her miscalculation, a confirmation of the power in restraint and precision. The room seemed to shrink around her as she leaned forward, trembling, trying to speak, to claw her way out of the consequences she had so thoughtlessly invited. Is this?" she managed, her words brittle, cracking in the silence. I let her question hang, unanswered, each second stretching longer than the last, each heartbeat a hammer against her arrogance. The energy in the room was electric, as if the very walls were holding their breath in anticipation. Every guest understood, in that suspended moment, that they were witnessing the collapse of a carefully constructed illusion, and the quiet fury of a man who had prepared for the storm in secret. Her sobs became uncontrollable, shuddering through her body in waves that echoed the chaos of her earlier laughter. The waiter finally moved, guiding her toward the door, mumbling reassurances as if they could stitch together the fabric of her dignity. She leaned heavily against him, tears soaking her blouse, hair plastered to her face, and the cab waiting outside seemed like a lifeline she would never fully grasp. Friends lingered, frozen, unsure whether to offer comfort or to simply step back and watch the inevitable unfold. Every glance cast her story in sharper relief, every whispered question echoing her failure. I stayed where I was, unmoving, watching her vanish into the night. The cab door slammed, the faint smell of perfume and wine lingering in the crisp air, and the muffled sounds of her sobs became a haunting rhythm in my memory. My friends turned toward me, unsure what to say, their awe mingling with disbelief. I said nothing. I didn't need to. My silence had spoken volumes, louder than any confrontation, sharper than any argument. Her downfall had been orchestrated in quietude, in measured preparation, and now it played out perfectly before witnesses. Once the last guest left, the room was littered with remnants of what should have been a night of celebration. Half-drunk champagne, broken glass, and the lingering scent of expensive perfume mingled with regret. Yet amidst the wreckage, I felt an unanticipated clarity, a cold satisfaction. She had attempted to humiliate me, to expose me, but I had turned her own betrayal into the most precise form of revenge. The night, once poised for romance, had become a monument to truth, silent and uncompromising. As I closed the door behind me, the cool night air brushing my skin, a strange serenity settled over me. The first anniversary I had anticipated with hope had revealed instead the full scope of her duplicity, and yet I remained intact, unbroken, and quietly triumphant. Somewhere in the night, far from the room she had desecrated with lies, she would remember the moment she had thought herself untouchable. She would remember the silence, the calculated patience, and the inevitability of her own exposure. And in that recollection, she would understand, perhaps too late, that some revenges need no words, only the cold, unshakable stillness of one who refuses to crumble.